Hello and welcome to Civil War Digital Digest, on location in Mountaintop VFW Post near Pleasant Hill, Ohio. I want to say thank you to the folks in the VFW to let us be on location at their gun range here to film, to bring you today our discussion of The Invincible Twelfth, a book review of the new book out by Ben Cwayna and published by Savas Beatie and Company. Before I get going, I do want to say thank you to our patrons, the coffee grinders for Civil War Digital Digest. Their financial contribution is what lets us get on the road, go to new locations, and film our videos. If you're not already a patron, I highly encourage you to look at it. We have extra content on there. Think about joining. We'd really appreciate the support. The 12th South Carolina is one of the more storied units in the Army in Northern Virginia. They're sometimes overshadowed by more popular units like the Stonewall Brigade, the Texas Brigade, but they're, as a member of Maxcy Gregg's brigade and then McGowan's brigade of South Carolinians, they proved to be one of the more dependable regiments in Robert E. Lee's army. This book by Ben Cwayna, a lawyer and reenactor out of Michigan, is being published by Savas Beatie here in the summer of 2025, and it's a regimental history of this unit. It's specifically a military history. It's looking at where the troops come from, it's looking at their service on the battlefield, and it's trying to put it into a larger context. It goes through the course of the war with the men and talks about their post-war careers. And I appreciate that this book is clearly well-researched. Mr. Cwayna went out and got a large variety of sources, and I like the way that he mixes in the quotes from the men. It really helps keep the narrative going. It helps provide some very important details and lets it be in the voices of the men themselves which fought, which sometimes gets missed in Civil War books. It's always a balance between letting the author speak and letting the men speak, and I thought that he made a really good balance of the two during the course of the book. This book goes through the course of the war, and I like too that he puts a lot of context on their service. He doesn't pick a particularly micro view where you're only viewing the story of the regiment, but he doesn't get so macro that he misses the story of this regiment that he's telling to tell the story of the whole brigade or the whole division or the whole army of Northern Virginia. He mixes in elements of that larger story, mixes in elements of the campaign, of the larger politics, of the command structure, but relates it to the story of the 12th South Carolina, their service during the war, and how it affected them. This book, I enjoy the detail of it. He gets into a lot of the things about how the men were supplied, how they were uniformed, the family dynamics, the politics within the unit, how the regiment was filled back up after campaigns, their recruiting efforts. All of these small details help bring a lot of life to the regiment. Now, there are some things that I would have liked to have seen a little different in the book, personally, in the tone and how it's written. Now, of course, it's told from the story of the 12th South Carolina, and that is the author's favorite unit, and of course, the focus of his story, but sometimes the language, I feel, can be a little pejorative, talking about the Union as boys, whereas the Confederates are called men, and sometimes that does lead to a little bit feeling of viewpoint bias in it. However, I felt that the book well rose upon those criticisms because I love the history that was inside of it. The detail was rich. He allowed a lot of voices to carry the narrative. And I also appreciated that it wasn't just a rah-rah book about this unit. He's honest about their failings and their shortcomings. He's honest about some of the characters in the unit that weren't the best. They either weren't the best officers or the best soldiers. He lets them be human in a way that isn't trying to just glass over who these men were. And I think that's important for anyone that's looking to write history about the Civil War, is to make sure to tell the complete story. And I very much appreciated that in this book. I'll say for this book, I actually appreciate that one of the things that we struggle sometimes on the digest is we want good Confederate content, but researching Confederate topics often can be a little bit more difficult. And I've been interested in 12th South Carolina for years, and this book actually has given me the stuff we need to move forward with a project that we're going to be doing the next couple months for us here on the channel. I also want to say I appreciate that this is a pure military history. As the historiography of Civil War writing changes and the ideas of war and society has taken with more academic sources, the idea of having a pure military history that look at a regiment, I appreciate that Savas Beatie is investing the time as a publishing house to get a quality book out on a regimental history like this. And I think it's something that's valuable to continue to have in the field as we go forward. Overall, The Invincible Twelfth by Ben Cwayna, I thought it was a good book. I think it's worth the time. I would hope you check it out, make some connection. As we go through the war, it's always great to discover new units, new stories, something that you can draw a connection to. For Civil War Digital Digest, I'm Andy. We'll catch you next time.